This is just a quick one for all those who are against foreign intervention, as I would be in many nations. It doesn't work, hasn't worked. Look at Iraq, look at Afghanistan, look at Libya. There's a difference. If you take out the Taliban in Afghanistan, the people wish to be under Islam. They want to live under Islam. In Iran, the people want the total opposite. They want freedom. They're a free, loving people. So when I see what's happening now with Israel, if I'm honest, I wake up and think, fucking great. Smash those mullahs. Free those people. Let the women show their hair. Let them party, let them dance, let them have their freedom. And I'm not for British Armed Forces going in there, but I am for helping the people of Iran break free from that Islamic supremacy. Because it's a whole different kettle of fish with Iran and the Iranian people in comparison with many of those Islamic nations. So, I'll have a watchful eye on what's happening over there. I know so many Iranians, so many people who can't have contact with their family, whose families aren't free, people who managed to escape, who have not been able to return home. I hope very soon, this is the start of freeing that nation.
In a rare pivot to foreign affairs, controversial British political activist Tommy Robinson has turned his attention toward Iran, voicing his support for the Iranian people in their ongoing struggle against what he describes as Islamic supremacy. In a recent statement, Robinson urged Western leaders to take a firmer stance in support of the Iranian protesters who, for years, have risked their lives in pursuit of democratic freedoms and civil liberties. Robinson's comments come amid renewed tensions in Iran, where crackdowns on dissent have intensified under the conservative leadership of President Ibrahim Raisi and Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Reports of executions, internet blackouts, and arbitrary detentions continue to pour out of the Islamic Republic as anti-regime protests flare across various provinces. Many of these protests are led by women, ethnic minorities, and young activists demanding secular governance and basic human rights. For Robinson, a man whose own political platform has been built on resisting Islamic extremism within the UK, Iran represents a front line in what he characterizes as a global ideological battle. The Iranian people are fighting to free themselves from an oppressive Islamic theocracy, Robinson said in a video posted on his social media channels. They are not the enemy. They are the victims of a brutal regime that uses religion to crush freedom, silence women, and persecute dissent. He continued, we must do everything we can to amplify their voices. Many of these people can't even contact their families. They're isolated, surveilled, tortured, and we in the West pretend it's not our problem. But it is. This is a human rights crisis. While Robinson has often been accused of inflaming anti-Muslim sentiment and has been jailed for contempt of court and other offenses, his commentary on Iran appears to strike a more sympathetic tone. Critics may call it opportunistic, but even they can't deny that the situation in Iran is one that demands global attention. Activists within the Iranian diaspora, many of whom have settled in the UK, Germany, and the United States, have welcomed international solidarity in recent months. We don't need military invasion, one Iranian student in London told this outlet. But we do need the world to stop appeasing the regime. We need sanctions against their security forces. We need media coverage, and we need moral support. When people like Robinson speak up, whether you like him or not, it helps us cut through the silence. Indeed, Robinson's framing of the Iranian crisis as a battle against Islamic supremacy may raise eyebrows, especially among foreign policy professionals who warn against simplifying Iran's complex political landscape. The current protest movement is deeply nuanced, driven by secularists, religious reformers, nationalists, and workers alike. To paint it solely as an anti-Islamic uprising risks alienating internal groups who still identify culturally with Islam but reject the regime's authoritarianism. Nevertheless, Robinson's intervention echoes a broader Western discomfort with the Islamic Republic's human rights record, particularly in the wake of the death of Mahsa Amini in 2022, a young Kurdish woman who died in custody after being arrested for allegedly wearing her hijab improperly. Her death ignited one of the largest protest waves since the 1979 revolution. Western governments, for the most part, have issued strong condemnations of Iran's internal repression. But many Iranian dissidents argue that words alone are not enough. Robinson appears to agree. "It's not enough to tweet solidarity and move on," he said. "We've got tech companies banning Iranian activists. We've got governments slow-walking sanctions. And we've got media outlets too afraid to talk about the role of radical Islam in this oppression." The calls for more robust foreign policy responses are mounting, from targeted Magnitsky sanctions against Irji officials to pressure on companies providing surveillance tools to Tehran. There is a growing consensus among human rights groups that the time for symbolic gestures has passed. But Robinson's involvement, controversial as ever, also raises uncomfortable questions. Can a man with a record of incendiary rhetoric be a credible ally for a persecuted people? Or does his support simply reflect a convergence of interests? Both he and Iranian activists are opposed to authoritarian theocratic rule. For some, that tension is secondary to the urgency of the moment. "We can argue about who should be speaking," said an Iranian journalist now living in exile. "But if someone with a platform is drawing attention to our cause, I won't dismiss it outright. Every bit of light on our darkness matters." Whether Robinson's statements evolve into concrete political action or remain another headline in a career marked by controversy remains to be seen. But his remarks signal something deeper. Even voices typically confined to domestic debates are being drawn into the moral gravity of Iran's struggle. And in an era where authoritarian regimes increasingly coordinate across borders, from Moscow to Tehran to Beijing, the question isn't whether foreign intervention is necessary, but what kind of intervention will genuinely align with the will of the people. Tommy Robinson may be a polarizing figure, but on this issue, he's betting on a simple principle. Freedom belongs to everyone, and tyranny, no matter its religious wrapping, must be exposed. Now we come to Sadiq Khan, to see if this mayor of London is still capable of leading the city.
I'll tell you what, normally I hate London because it's like apocalypse now. It's like the day after tomorrow. I walk down the street looking around going, I don't know this city anymore. It's been robbed of me. 10 years ago when I first moved to London, I loved it. I used to live in Westminster. I'd go down the pub, finish at about 11 o'clock in last orders, merrily walk home, 15 minutes back to my bed. I wouldn't dare do that now. Hell no, because that's how bad things have got. I put a photo up on X the other day, actually, of the nature of how just the main thoroughfare of commerce in my particular neighbourhood has changed, where you've got the Co-op and Boots having to board up one of their doors because they actually have to have now people come in and go out the same door because the looting was so intense. Then, in said Boots, they've got, it's mental, they've got this, perfume display counter, which clearly, Guerlain or Givenchy or whatever is sent to Boots and say, can you put this up to promote our new fragrance? And it's a big sort of, jazzy, colourful cardboard stand. And where the free samples are supposed to be, where the sort of option is to have a little sniff at what the fragrance smells like, they're not there. Because clearly some toe rag and ne'er-do-well would just come in, nick it and make off again. No, all the perfumes have to be behind lock and key and heavily guarded by a man in a uniform. Then you go down the road to Co-op and now they've actually managed to open both doors to Co-op, right? Woohoo, well done. You can have an entrance and egress. But what they've done instead is they've actually put all their meat in these locked hard plastic boxes with GPS trackers. Lamb chops in a little Fort Knox style container with a GPS tracker on it. I mean, are you kidding me? Is this what it is now? Is this what London looks like? Well, I'll tell you what, when you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and get a taxi to work and there's not a single other person on the street, it's actually quite a lovely city. You roll down through the river, sun coming up, the streets are quiet, you don't have those sort of ne'er-do-wells roasting chestnuts on Westminster Bridge. They're not there yet, all those illegal traders. The pickpockets, they're still in bed or counting out their loot. The phone snatchers, well, they're too lazy to get up at 4 a.m, plus there's no one to snatch a phone off. And all the perverts who follow you down the street, well, they're yet to get up as well. So for the first time in a long time, I actually looked at the city and felt safe. Because there was nobody around, because this city doesn't belong to the British anymore. It's been disgustingly and woefully handed over. Thank you, Sadiq Khan and successive governments. It ain't just Sadiq Khan's fault. We know he's responsible. Looking at you, Boris Johnson as well. Let's not forget what he did when it comes to immigration. Right, now I've got that off my chest. Let's move on, shall we, and pick up with Ben.